This is recording, just so everyone knows, and also there will be a chance for open sharing and all of that. Let's simply take a moment to tune in, and that would simply be a moment in silence, so we can maybe sit up straight or wherever we're at comfortably and close our eyes for a moment, where the attention can be rested inward, and as we come to a place of surrender, not needing to focus on anything in particular, not the breath or any sensations or topics or intentions, we can actually be pulled to the center of the chest. This may be the natural point where we can rest in that sense of being, that sense of pure awareness. Or we can simply be with what's present here. And in this place of simply being aware, naturally, sensations of the body, feelings in the gut or the torso, and thoughts in the mind may reveal themselves and be observed from this vantage point. And resting in this intentionless intention, we are simply just aware. There's no real interest in story or ideas. The memories or themes or topics of people, places, and things also can be, for this period and for this container, simply ignored. There can be a recognition initially, but a movement back to simply a resting in what is here, what is present, what is directly here in the sensations of the body, in the sense of resting in this place of being, the sense of pure awareness. Allowing for every aspect of the body to simply relax and come to rest. Naturally, the body, the sensations, any feelings and thoughts come into a certain lightness, which opens for them to be more easily dissolved just by way of almost like the natural wind, the natural current of energy that desires to move through the body like a vessel. Energy may move and exit through the top of the head, or just disperse and dissolve and alchemize or transmute into a more higher form, more balanced or harmonized form. Simply continuing to rest in that place of awareness. From this vantage point and sense of balance, there can be a dispersing of this sense of awareness throughout every cell in the body, almost as if you're visualizing a sense of nothingness within every cell in the body from head to toe. And simply feeling a wave of gratitude and appreciation for this moment and for this time we have here today in this call. And as you feel a sense of completion, at least just in this initial container, then feel free to just comment in the comment section, so I know everyone is kind of good to go. And if there's anything else that has come up in this initial piece, you can share that. Or if you want to say it on video or whatever, you can mention that in the comments as well. Just take a minute to do that. There's no rush. Take your time. This initial meditative kind of process we did is very similar to the overall method that I shared in the email, which was an article I written a few years ago called How to Heal Anything. And this method is unfolded, over quite a few years now of working this practice with myself and then working it with students and individuals I facilitate sessions for. And the natural premise with this method is a pointer to some core principles and some core elements to what we would call energy or emotional healing as a whole. And we could say that there is quite a jungle of, healing modalities and systems and techniques that are present in the scene of the New Age, spiritual seekers, personal development, and these different topics. And all with their valid approaches and, methods and ways of doing things, and also all pointing to some core sets of principles in which, as one has an understanding of and a grasp on through direct practice, there can naturally be a simplification to the means of energy and emotional work, whether one is doing this with themselves or supporting in the facilitation of this healing with another. The nature of this method we're diving into today is very simple and to the point in direct practice. There is a benefit to practicing it with a teacher or with somebody who holds a certain energy, because naturally that energy will be assimilated by osmosis through those who are maybe initially practicing it for the first time, or further deepening into really simply the practice of awareness, the practice of recognizing this initial principle within the nature of all energy healing, which is that of awareness. That in reality, awareness is simply unconditional love. Awareness is love. Awareness is the means in which one can recognize and see an aspect of creation from a lens of purity, a lens of non-judgment, and a lens of pure unconditional love. And so we could say that the essence of all true healing comes by way of simply being aware, being in recognition, and being in a space of unconditional love for what is appearing. This awareness, the sense of awareness, the reason why obviously it is, and when we're speaking of it, in some sense, it holds a certain kind of means to an end energy, and we want to kind of get away from this. We want to point to the reality of what is, which is awareness is you. Awareness is the source of what you are. Awareness is all that is. Awareness is the only actual reality. Everything is appearances, thoughts, feelings, sensations. These are all appearances that are happening in the light or in the perception of subjective awareness. And so when we come to this and we come to the recognition of what awareness is as ourselves, we see that the nature of resting in this place of simply being aware, silently aware, we can come to a place of perceiving from an unconditional loving lens, a silent lens, in which naturally brings a sense of healing with it. It's similar to if you've ever spent time maybe with a client, if you're a healer or some sort of coach, or maybe with a friend or a family member. There's a place in which naturally, if one is in some sort of dire circumstance or in suffering or pain, the pointer and the call is for one to rest in that place of simple presence, a place of non-judgment, a place of providing unconditional love, which is generally silent to this individual. This is what brings forth the power of healing and the power of one experiencing the experience of being seen or being recognized without judgment and in a place of unconditional love, no matter what they are bringing forth or what they're sharing or what how they're acting. They're seen in this way. And so in the sense of our inner practice of meditative awareness, the practice like we practiced initially here, which was the movement to the silent sense of awareness that generally resides in that sense of being, and that sense of being generally will reside in the heart of hearts, in the center of the chest, where it's like when we speak of ourselves, we say, this is myself, right? We touch our heart because naturally this is where we sense that sense of being, that sense of pure I amness, or that sense of pure energy, pure consciousness. And all of these terms, being, awareness, consciousness, energy, presence, these are all similar terms, and they can be in a sense used interchangeably. There are some nuances and semantics with it. For the case of what we're coming into here, that sense of awareness gives a certain active verb-like energy because we are becoming aware of the changing thoughts, feelings, and sensations that make up the human experience. These are what create everything within our experience: thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And so when we see that thoughts, feelings, and sensations are also the reflection of suffering, if we are identifying with them falsely, if we believe that we are not that perceiver or that sense of awareness, but we are these thoughts and feelings and sensations, naturally this is going to provide difficulty. And also it is going to keep those things in their place, or that it's going to keep those things held wherever they are. So for instance, if we have an issue with somebody, if we're thinking about the issue perpetually and we're identifying with the pain and the suffering of the issue with this someone, well, naturally, this is what's actually keeping the issue with that person present, because there is a desire, and there's a desire, we could say, for this identification to change and fix itself. And we could say that this is a portion to the reason why things may not heal, is there's an attachment or intense desire for things to heal and change and fix and release, and all of the terms we give to things that we're unfolding with in this path of healing. And the reason why we're pointing to this is because this is a key component to the practice we're diving into today. is practicing the ability to rest within a sensation that may be uncomfortable or painful or so-called negative, etc., without or through dissolving the natural, very natural and common intention to heal or fix or change or release a specific energy, generally an emotional energy that is held within the body. And although we could say that, well, we're coming in this call in some degree with this intention, which is okay, paradoxically, we will move through a greater speed of healing, release, and alchemizing or transmuting of energy through silence. And silence, in many ways, is what I mentioned in the initial meditation, is the kind of intentionless intention. And we could say that this intentionless intention is also the intention of acceptance, which is the highest of all intentions. It is the core of where all intentions arise. Because acceptance is the resting in the perfection of what is. It is the actual embodiment of source, of awareness of God. Because from the lens of God or the lens of source, all is truly perfect as it is. And there is no necessity for anything to change, because whatever is arising naturally is providing just as much benefit as something else that one may perceive as more positive or better, or etc. As we've seen in our life, the things that have generally been the most challenging have obviously resulted in great lessons and opportunities for change and growth and things like this. So this initial piece that we're diving into with a sense of awareness is pointing back to the practice of we could say, just being, the practice of silence, the practice of resting in what is, which in essence, we could say is the epitome of the spiritual path. The spiritual path for many is the running around to many techniques and modalities and systems and tools and substances and teachers and all this. On one level, as an intention to heal, an intention to find the tools for healing. And on a deep subconscious level, it also can be presented as a running from this exact truth and this very specific method, which is the resting in the darkness, the resting in the feelings or the sensations that are uncomfortable and that are simply asking for your present attention. They are simply asking for the willingness to feel, the willingness to be with them. Similar to if a child comes to you crying and in distress, they're not really looking for advice or, some sort of teaching or something. They're simply looking for the ultimate teaching, which is that sense of silence, that sense of presence, just being with them, consoling them, hugging them. And in the same light, this is what we are approaching today, is can there be a willingness to dissolve and release from the incessant need to fix and change and find some solution to the present healing or sensation or emotion or experience that you may be having, and simply come to rest in it all, come to be with it all, dissolving even the desire and need for it to change or be something else. Can you just simply be with it? And who knows, maybe it'll last for hours, maybe it'll go in seconds, but is there that willingness? And this is kind of the intention we hold in the session, is a certain intensity of willingness that, something I've spoken to my students often is one doesn't decide when the practice ends. The practice will end you. And what I mean by that is that if we are doing sincere spiritual practice, a practice that is really refined in its ability to point one directly to that sense of truth and that sense of real liberation and freedom, this practice will reveal itself. The truth of the practice will reveal itself in time. It will not be a conscious decision, when the practice is done, or when you feel like you've done enough, or when you're deserving of it all because you practiced for so many hours. This is not the sincerity of what true grace is calling for. Grace that is going to come and purify you and bring such a sense of freedom and liberation. This will come through a certain sense of willingness and humility that It is not up to you when that moment will be, or when those moments will be, or when that unfolding will be. All you can do is be sincere in your practice and diligent and disciplined and consistent. And through that, especially in the practice we're doing today, what occurs in the sense of simply being willing to be with what is arising, these energies from, the solar flares or the planet, or what liberation is revealing, or what others are experiencing in your environment, your family, your friends, all these energies that you're experiencing in your body, you will continue to become that vessel for these energies to flow through very rapidly, where it's almost like you're not paying any attention to it. It's like, it's not really about, is this my energy, or the solar flares, or astrology, or Mercury retrograde, or this person, or this. It's not really about any of that. It's about, this is what's present. This is the energy that's present. And the less ideas and stories and memories and concepts I have about what's present, then the more powerful and more open one can be for the very efficient processing or releasing or transmutation of these energies. And so we're kind of wrapping up all the principles together in this initial piece. We have awareness, we have the principle of intention, we have the principle of energy and the movement of energy, or we could also wrap that up in the topic of modality. So modality being, we have Reiki healing and pranic healing, and, Wim Hof breathing and yogic and all of these different things. And at least in my experience from pretty much practicing everything in the book, if you will, there became a very clear understanding that they were all simply pointing to the same thing. And that was simply that these practices in many ways were tools in which one could manage the intensity of energies and manage the movements of relativity, and relativity being this world we live in, and we live in this cosmos and this endless universe. There's all of these things occurring. So we use tools and modalities in a way in which we can align ourselves with the cosmic geometries and the true nature and well-being that this body has naturally. And on the other end, there is also this non-dual approach, this practice of awareness, the practice of simply being with all that is arising, that in many ways all the modalities are pointing one to. They're pointing one to the true reality, or the true recognition that the more in which one is willing to not need to change or manipulate or try and find relief from what is arising in certain energies, the more in which one will emerge into that sense of liberation, and we could say fearlessness, because there is not a pushing or a pulling. It's the true emergence of that desireless space, where one is not trying to run from the emotions that seem uncomfortable and painful, nor are they looking to run in the opposite direction to something that's more peaceful or blissful, or at the end of the mountain, or some exciting new endeavor. And naturally we live in a body, so this will in a certain sense play itself out. Even the greatest masters still experienced fear to a certain sense. And in the same light, what we're seeing is that there is a certain mastery that has emerged for those who we viewed as masters, let's say. And that mastery has come with, we could say, like an ongoing welcoming. There's a great teacher I read a certain story about recently. Her name is Anandai Mahi Ma. She's a Hindu saint. And she was there was a topic speaking on her experience with illness and disease, and how a lot of her disciples, or a lot of her students, were very confused about the fact that she was this great being, but she still experienced illness and different diseases at times. And she had a very clear perception, and that was and very much a presentation on why at times she may have used certain modalities or systems to help release or deal with the ailments that were occurring, but overall she was in a deep welcoming of everything, similar to how when she mentioned any student that would come to her, she would welcome them. She wouldn't push them away. So in the same light, why would she do that to an illness, or why would she do that to some energy that is arising? She was in a place of perpetual welcoming, or presence, a willingness to simply be with whatever is arising, no matter how it is, without the desire to manipulate or control. And just like the waves of the universe, the waves of life, the waves of coming and going, is in the light the same thing with an illness, or any situation that is arising. It is an arising and a falling, a coming and going of the natural movement of karma, of energy, of choice and consequence, of, you know, really what many of us cannot explain. And so this really revealed something for me, at least, and hopefully it has it with you, in the sense that the more in which there's a willingness to be in that space of welcoming and resting in what is, this is naturally how we find peace in this moment, in exactly what is. It's not saying that it will release everything or fix everything or change anything, but we could say that if we can find freedom in this moment, no matter how it's arising, there is a certain power, obviously, that we can see with that. And then naturally, as nature desires to naturally align itself, the things in which are of dissonance, or the things in which are of density, or things in which are of more negative oriented energy, we could say that they will also transmute and release in the time in which that is right. So this is kind of this initial piece that we've dived into today, that kind of really encapsulates this core system that I teach, and that you know, has been reflected to a certain degree in the manual for the Liberation Manual. And if you haven't downloaded that the modality is somewhat in there. I've also have the article. It's a part of a core program that takes some time, that I work with people individually, and similar to what we're going to do today, because it really does take practice. This is not a method where I am, you know, your magic healer. Certainly there's a certain energy in which I carry and that I can experience with you, because I will be able to feel generally everything that's being felt with everyone in the call today. But this is all our own work to do. And our own work to do means that if we have the tool and the practice and the modality at our fingertips, we have our ability to use the practice, then it is up to us to practice it and to do that work. And to be in the presence of a group or a teacher that holds a certain energy will simply expedite it. You may find that it'll be faster in a group, or with me, or with another teacher, or, you know, using another tool. It may just expedite the process. It does not mean necessarily that it's something outside of yourself that's doing that work. That's something that's important. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to open up if there's any questions. If you want to speak on the audio or camera, then just say so in the chat, or, I mean, you can just unmute yourself too. And we'll start with that, and then we can dive into some things. And it's okay if there's no questions either, because we will simply dive in. No questions. Okay, we're clear. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the human design system. If you're not familiar with the human design system, just say so if you are. It'd be cool to hear maybe, you know, what your design is. But for myself, I'm a manifester. So generally what you'll find in any sort of calls that I do, or any sort of teaching type of, you know, sessions, is it's very direct and to the point, because I'm simply here just to inform you about, you know, maybe what has worked for me and what I feel is a consistent process. And so you know, it's very direct. So, you know, take it as it is. You know, I have found that in that directness, it gives the opportunity for you to really explore then. And if you resonate, if there's an acceptance of that teaching or that message, then it can simply do the work extremely rapidly. And, you know, that's a great benefit. Hey, Adam. Generator 5-1, nice. Manifester, Satoko, yes, it's quite a ride. I'm a 6-3 manifester, so it's a fun one. 2-4 manifester. Oh, I have a 2-4 around here. Manifesting generator. You know, the 2-4s I've really noticed, if this resonates with you, is that hermit-like energy. You know, it's really about being in a place where you can, people can know to not, you know, tell you what to do. I mean, no one likes to be told what to do, but the 2-4 I find really doesn't want to be told what to do. They want to just be allowed to do their thing, you know, to be in their own space, their own world, their own energy, to kind of just be able to do what they need to do. Especially as a manifest, 2-4 manifest, I'd be even more intense in that regard, you know, to simply be left alone. That's what I've noticed living with a 2-4 manifesting generator. To be left alone, to be in the know, obviously, of what's going on and, you know, topics of things, but just to be open to do as they need to and to be as they are. So, you know, a lot of artists I've noticed a lot of artists, a lot of musicians and performers are 2-4s, because they hold a certain hermit-like energy that desires to move inwards and, you know, explore on their own and, you know, make their creations and all that. And then also a certain energy of, you know, the missionary or the desire to serve in some sense. So, yes. Getting a bit off topic, but it's all on topic. I mean, we can do another talk call on human design. I do them somewhat and a lot of readings for people. But okay, so if there is no questions, that is cool. If you're coming, I don't know if anyone came in late, but you could kind of rewatch this after this will be recorded. It is being recorded. And so, well, we're going to dive into the method and the practice. We kind of did this initially today. It wasn't too complex, and I'm going to guide it through. I do at times like to guide it, you know, if there's someone who has something that they're wanting to look at. You know, this is nice, but I will do it today without doing that and interacting with anybody. I will interact with all of you together, and what we could simply start with as we're here is a simple recognition of the moment. So, you know, even with the eyes open, the practice can be done with the eyes open. Anytime we're closing the eyes, this just naturally expedites things because we don't have distractions. So if you desire to close your eyes, then we can be invited to do so. And what I'm going to simply invite you, which is probably already obvious, as the session I feel is kind of like brings things to the surface, generally when I'm doing calls. So we're simply coming into recognition of what is present, you know, a certain theme or topic that may be present at this time that is manifesting itself as an energy in the body. So, you know, we can be blatant with it. It may not be the most comfortable energy. It may be a certain density, a certain intensity of some energy that's present. And there may be also nothing. You may be in a deep space of rest and peace here. So we can be with that. Though if there is a natural intention for awareness to be present, then there may be a revealing of a certain topic or theme or energy that, you know, comes to light. And so as that occurs, we can simply come into a recognition of where that is in the body and what that is feeling like. So that may be a certain emotional energy, a certain tension, and it generally may be fixated, let's say, you know, solar plexus right now, at least what I'm experiencing right now, a certain solar plexus energy and in the heart. There may be some energy in the throat as well. And no matter how many areas, it doesn't really matter. It can be one specific area or many. There may be one that is more prominent, and that is what the natural place of awareness. So it's recognizing you don't really have to do anything. Whatever is most prominent will be pulling the most of your attention. And so with that, we can rest in the place of bringing our attention directly to the sensations that are arising here. And by way of doing this is a certain responsibility we're taking to recognize that this is happening here in this body. And as we focus upon it, there's a dissolution of the maybe memories or attachments of this energy to some person or place or topic or theme. There may be ideas and memories and thoughts arising, but we're going to continue to focus simply on the sensation. In a certain sense, it's almost like we have a laser pointer of our awareness and we're fixated on the energy in which is present here. Bringing all of our focus, all of our attention to simply come to rest in the silence of being and the silence of awareness of whatever's arising, whatever sensations are present. And we could say that there's a relaxing into these energies, a relaxing into the feeling in which is present. And as this occurs, there may be a natural lightening of that feeling. The feeling or sensation and energy may begin to move. It may dissolve. It may even get bigger and expand. Whatever is happening, there's simply a resting in what is occurring and a willingness to open up to this energy to do whatever it desires to do. In a certain sense, is to rest in the trust of opening completely to this energy, to this theme, this topic, and open up to surrender for this energy to expand, to erupt within you, to light you up in flames if it desires to. This may ignite a certain release. This may ignite a desire maybe to cry or to, further surrender into the body. The energies may begin to move. You may feel it rising. It may look to move out through the throat and head and top of the head. It may continue to disperse. It may move through the feet and down into the arms. But as there's a continual resting and dissolving into what is present, then we can see and reveal this sense of unconditional love for what is present. And in this place of silence, there's also a dissolution of the desire for this to fix or change or heal, which may reveal a certain playfulness with it all that releases a sense of seriousness, of this needing to be a certain way, or may also reveal a sense of patience in whatever any energy of the body is doing, whatever it's revealing. It can simply be as it is, and you can rest in the silence, that ability to simply be aware. The attention may also have moved to other areas of the body or new sensations that may arise, but overall a certain lightness may be the case and emerging, a certain ease, a dissolution of any really intense energy or density in the body, and an openness, visualizing yourself like a vessel of energy that can just simply come in and come out, just to move right through you, exiting out of the top of the head like a fountain. The rest of the energy naturally can disperse and turn into a sense of joy, a sense of ease, a sense of peace. from this place of silence, there can be a natural recognition of a certain balance and completion here in the body. And so if there is any lingering energy, you can actually balance that out just by way of the intention, like a scan, because there's a predominant nature of balance that has occurred here now. Anything else can disperse quite rapidly. And as you feel a sense of balance and completion overall, then if we would like to just return here with the eyes open, we can comment just our experience in the chat. Just share how, or if someone wants to share on video, that's welcomed as well. And if there isn't a completion, you can also continue to rest in the overall practice, which is a simple pointer of the recognition of the sensation, the silencing of your recognition of the sensation, and the resting in that sensation for as long as necessary. And many of you may have seen the more rapid or slower, dissolution and dissolving of whatever was arising for you. But I'd love to hear the experiences in the chat. Sure, go ahead, Adam. Let me know if you can unmute yourself. Yeah, there you go.
Hey guys.
Amen.
I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, there is this fear of failure in my body. It's the feeling connected with my miracle coming in my life, because I will become father soon in those days. And with my son, we will heal, and we are healing our men bloodline, let's say, or our experiences in my ancestors' line, and it's really powerful. And during your guidance, I had several places, and one of them was my right knee, because that's the place where I feel the pain the most. Like it started to move and warm me up during the observation, and the rest, like during the resting, it was spreading. And there was one beautiful moment when I allow myself to rest deeper. I felt like there was a crust around my body, like there was like some shell, and suddenly it just like cracked and dropped all over the body. It was just like kind of suit, like shell suit, and it's just vanished. And it was so, it's so beautiful feeling still. And after that, I was just invited to see the new perspective of the path I chose to walk, like appreciation and deep gratitude, much deeper than I ever experienced, towards all the people or situations which hurt me, Like I realized that because of those experiences, I can be here meeting new people, experience new healings, and going much deeper into this amazing like a game, you know, and know myself more. And mainly there was this happiness and joy that because of my discoveries and courage and everything I went through, like I could be here now and blossom, to acknowledge that it's the part of the journey. So thank you for this. It's really, and I have tears in my eyes, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you.
Blessings, man. Wonderful. It's a great share. That was nice. Yeah, there's something special when we simply give ourselves the space. You know, the space on our own is one thing, and the space within, you know, a group and the power of that group is another. You know, just that space, and it's that opening that all of a sudden that the shifts in perception that can occur, or the releases, or the healing, you know, all those things. You know, when we look at, for instance, the miracle healings of Jesus, for instance, the way in which any miracle healing is able to occur is practiced in a certain sense through potentially the teaching, you know, love thy enemy, right? Love thy enemy is a teaching of awareness in the sense that no matter what is appearing on the surface, like the leper, you know, the leper or the sickness or the disease or the cancer, the, you know, the issue, no matter what is appearing, there's a willingness to see through the appearance and to love and to connect with the love at the source, you know, to rest in that sense of awareness. So whether the direction is going outwards, you know, to another or to some topic or whatever, or, you know, inwards, like in this type of practice, there's no real difference. It is the same thing. It is a willingness to see past the initial appearances and layers of falsehood and illusion, and to connect and to rest in the source of what it is, which is that pure love, that pure awareness, which then from that place, you know, similar to like the imagery I got about the crust, it breaks the shell, you know, it breaks the layers and dissolves them. And it reveals what has always actually been, what was actually there in the first place. And then, you know, we have these spontaneous healings and miracles and all these things by way of nothing. You know, it is a willingness to rest in the silence of being and then to receive the grace of source, because grace is doing this work. It has nothing to do with anything really else. You know, you've been willing to come in this call. I'm willing to help facilitate this call, and then we're all in this together for grace then to be revealed and to purify and to, you know, break the shell, if you will, you know, or pop the seal or release the, I don't know, block in the truck or whatever the thing is. And, you know, one note about this is that there's no limit as to what this practice can heal. Whether it's a physical element, mental, emotional, energetic entities, implants, anything that is a concentrated form of energy that is manifesting as a false version of the source. You know, it's manifesting as a subset or an egoic representation. It can be worked on. And so there's no limit. And the more in which it's practiced and the more that intention is held, then the more you will see your ability to move into this. And, you know, as I mentioned, I do this one-on-one with people, and in the core kind of healing group that we have, that is not necessarily connected to liberation, but very, very intertwined. And that's why I'm doing it for the liberation community. You know, the process of that really, it does require practice. And I can provide much guidance over time within that. But it also then emerges into the place of recognizing your duty as a being holding this energy, not necessarily like saying like a healer or, you know, a coach or facilitator, although that certainly may arise. It's simply recognizing that the more you are in tune with your own energy field, you will be able to feel the energies of other beings in the same light as what they're feeling. So if somebody is feeling something in their body, you will likely be able to feel it in yours. And the more we're taking responsibility for the fact that anything that is occurring within this body naturally is for you to do the work, whether or not it's coming from somebody else, it's your work to be done, because there's a reason why it's arising. And that is true service. That is the recognition that we are one in that sense, one from a standpoint of, until all have relieved their suffering, we still have work to do. So that is kind of what this can evolve into. If you are maybe a coach or facilitator or healer or that type of thing, or maybe spreading liberation, naturally people you're giving this remedy to, or people that are also on the path with you, this is a practice in which can very quickly support in that overall process, in conjunction with what liberation is already doing, or what other practices that you're using are doing. It's a very universal practice. It's not tied to really anything. Tension in the ribs, a gripping sensation, became a deeper experience of the heart space. Very nice. And and like I mentioned, it's an ongoing practice. So in a certain sense, we do this seated. We're doing this as a certain session together, and we can certainly do more. So we will continue this kind of container we've set, and at the same time, it also becomes a practice that we're doing ongoingly, a practice where there isn't an identification with anything that is arising, and thus you become like an ongoing vessel of healing. So in real time, as things are arising within your experience, they are able to purify, they are able to clear, they are able to move very rapidly. So you're not like, it's like you're not wasting time, it's like you're just coming right through, and it's moving, because there isn't this identity that's wanting to hold to it. And if that does occur, then you very, very rapidly can reveal that to yourself and see, okay, this is that falsehood of holding and numbing or running, instead of diving right into that suffering or pain, in enveloping yourself within what is present. All right, so it's important. So there's any other shares or anything that wants to arise, we can dive into that. I mean, this is the gist of the practice. As I mentioned, I do this individually with people that can certainly expedite it, and also the group that the group program that we're diving into, which is going to be ongoingly diving into this and really teaching it as a whole. It works very much in conjunction with what we're doing with liberation. So for those that are interested to connect with me on that, and send me a message or an email, or just write a moment something in the chat. I do have the article that is there that outlines the practice. So you already have it available. Like I said, it just, like doing it as a group here with this guidance can really, expedite things. And that's always nice, But yeah, if there's any other comments or questions or anything that wants to be shared, then group work. Sure. Yeah, we can organize that. Okay, Sarah, have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm assuming it's quite late for some of you if you're coming from the other side of the world. Well, if there is not any other comments or questions or shares, then I will go ahead and begin to wrap this up. Very, it's a to the point call that we had today. This is recorded, so this will be posted. And if there's others in your path that you'd like to share, of course, this is not tied to just those using liberation. Liberation will just simply expedite that process, and it works hand in hand. Liberation will reveal emotions that then this practice can support with, and you will be able to manage the intensity of the ride that liberation can present at times. And in conjunction with other practices. As I mentioned, it's not an intrusive practice. So whether or not you're doing other types of systems or meditations or have other teachers, this is a universal practice that really all are pointing to anyways, and can be used with a certain efficiency. So I invite you to explore. I invite you to reach out to me if you desire for more support or any other questions. We will kind of organize some more group experiences like this, within the community. And And as I mentioned, when the recording's available, sharing this with those who you feel can benefit, I feel would be quite nice. You know, there's many that can benefit from this. And it's also very simple. It doesn't come with any dogma or any, you know, long ancient teaching or anything. You know, it's right to the point. So that's great. So I will leave it there. Deep love to all of you. Blessings on your path and the rest of your day. We will connect as it's time. Yes, Adam, thank you for sharing. Satoko, Stephen, who else is here? Everyone else is left. Okay. Deep love to all of you. Blessings.